Hi, I'm here to share the story of a young man, an award winning movie, and a U.S. naval vessel. Who would ever have thought those three things would have anything in common? Well, it started in the summer of 1996 when Hunter Scott sat down to watch a movie with his dad. They were watching one of his dad's favorite movies, Jaws. In Jaws, Captain Quint, the man who is the captain of the ship that goes after the great white shark, that has been terrorizing the beach all summer. One evening, while they're looking for the shark, Captain Quint is asked about the tattoo he has had removed from his arm. And Captain Quint relays the story of the USS Indianapolis. Hunter Scott, while he had watched the movie several times, for the first time really heard the story that Captain Quint was telling. He asked his dad, "Is it a true story?" His dad told him, "Yes, it is." Well, Hunter wanted to know more information. He started asking his dad lots of questions. His dad didn't know the answers. But being the high school principal that his dad was, he told his son that he would take him to the library that weekend so that he could look up all the answers he wanted. Well, they went to the library at the University of West Florida, and Hunter's father showed him where all the World War II books were, gave him a pad of paper and some pencils, and said, "Have at it. I'll see you in an hour." Well, his dad came back an hour later, and Hunter only had 4 or 5 lines written on the paper. He wanted to know where the rest of the information was. Hunter said, "Dad, there isn't any. This is all I found." Well, his dad didn't believe him, so he looked too, and sure enough, there wasn't very much information about the USS Indianapolis. Hunter remembered his teacher telling him that people who tell the stories of the historic events, the people that were involved in them, their stories were primary sources. So he decided he was going to go to the primary sources himself. Living in a naval town, Pensacola, Florida, he placed an ad in a couple of the military papers there to see if he could find any of the survivors of the USS Indianapolis. And from there came the book, Left for Dead, A Young Man's Search for Justice for the USS Indianapolis. What Hunter found out was the USS Indianapolis was the ship that took the components of the atomic bomb over to Guam to be put together by the crew of the Enola Gay and dropped in Hiroshima. What he found out was it was a top secret mission. Nobody knew unless they had to know. So there were very few, very, very select few, who knew what was going on. In fact, so few knew that the ship sailed in July of 1945 unaccompanied. It obviously made its trip to Guam because we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. It wasn't until their trip back that it became very dangerous. With very few people knowing, the ship was coming through the waters of the Pacific Ocean. And late one night, they were torpedoed by the Japanese. And several hundred men were left in the ocean in shark-infested waters for days without food or water. Some of them starved to death. Some of them died of dehydration. Some of them drowned. Some of them were eaten by sharks. Hunter, through his correspondence with some of the survivors, found out the stories. He also found out the night that the ship went down, SOSs did go out, but they did not reach to the select few who knew the secret mission of the ship. The Navy had made a mistake. Several hundred men had died, and now they needed a scapegoat. And that scapegoat was Charles B. McVeigh III, the captain of the ship. He was a third-generation naval officer, a graduate of Annapolis, and now he was being made a scapegoat. Captain McVeigh was court-martialed and ended up taking his own life, devastated by the things that had happened to him and to his men, and that he couldn't change. Hunter Scott decided that this was his History Fair project. He was going to win the History Fair at the state level and at the national level, and he was going to get Captain McVeigh's name cleared. He was going to get the court-martial overturned. Well, things didn't quite happen that way, or quite as easily as Hunter thought they would. Hunter was disqualified at the state level because of the notebooks that he had been recommended as putting with his project. The notebooks contained the stories, the mementos, the letters of the survivors, the primary sources that he sought to tell the story. The historic significance could not be weighed. It was huge. And the fact that an 11-year-old boy compiled them is amazing. Like I said, things didn't happen the way Hunter thought they were going to happen. But luckily, at the urging of the survivors, his local congressman, and other supporters, he didn't stop. But to find out more about the stories of the survivors, what happened that fateful night in 1945, what happened to the crew members, how it changed Hunter Scott, and how Hunter Scott took the time, had the courage, and the determination to see change happen. Please take time to read Left for Dead, A Young Man's Search for Justice for the USS Indianapolis by Pete Nelson. Thank you.